not sure how to do a talk today because I am not used to talking about myself in person this way. And being someone who's taught courses in fitness education, I'm used to delivering other people's material. As for my material today, I just hope that I can be as informative as possible based on my own experience and that you can take away something. My objective for being here today, for sharing, is just I hope to connect with you guys in some form of way. And hopefully you learn one or two things that you didn't know about stuff. For example, like how chemotherapy messes with your memory loss, which will explain this me, because this is literally how I felt today. You know what else that means? If I get in an argument of like I said, you said, with someone, guess who's not winning? I guess I'll start with introducing myself and my backstory. Maybe we'll start when I'm younger. So, I've been working in the fitness industry for like 15 years now today. But before I did that, growing up, I've always been active. So training has always been a part of my life. I did track and field, I competed in track and field in primary school. I played rugby for a little bit in high school. I went clubbing a lot. So I learned dancing early on when I was 15. Don't tell my parents that. And then I went to business, of course, in fitness and in pole. But throughout that journey, I also had a very supportive system. My parents. My dad used to be a bodybuilder. I mean, he was an engineer, and then he was like, you know what? I'm gonna do something I love. So he opened up his own muscle gym, and that's my mom. Mm-hmm. And those are my brothers. So the business, my first business partner happens to be here today as well. My entire life was revolved around movement, around alternative exercise, and that was how we saw ourselves as a pole fitness empire in Malaysia. I mean, I'm exaggerating empire, but that's true. Because of credit, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't have this beautiful photo with both of my brothers in the magazine. I was also really interested in martial arts. I think I might have actually been to most of the gyms in Hong Kong, as well as Malaysia, and everywhere I travel to, I'm always in the gym. In other words, some friends might say, well, you know what, she got the training aspect, but maybe she didn't know how to eat well. For those who didn't know me and when they found out I had cancer, they wanted to ask me, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you tried turmeric? Have you tried papaya? Have you tried spirulina? Have you tried going plant-based, vegan? Have you tried cutting out meat? Have you tried fasting? Have you tried just breathing air? You know, silly shit like that. My journey with nutrition actually started from a very young age. When I first started in the fitness industry, that's pretty much when I started with nutrition. My unfinished bachelor's degree was in nutrition. Closer in more recent years, I also completed my level 1 in precision nutrition, which is a certification course from Canada, a very comprehensive nutrition course. Yet, how much do I really know? Because the more I study, the more I realize I don't know. So experimentation. Theory is one thing, but how would you apply what you have learned from books and from everything, right? I've tried keto diet. I've tried low carb diet, slow carb diet, invisible carb diet, whatever carb diet that you can think of. I've tried fasting. I've tried all sorts of intermittent fasting. 16-8, a few days a week, 1 day a week, 5 days. 5 days water fast, 7 days water fast. Out of those days, I would do a dry fast, which means I don't consume water either. I mean, those were all my experimentation. Now, what I did not realize, actually I should also say I went vegan and plant-based. This was literally the type of food that I was eating. These are all vegetables. So, now you might think, I'm doing everything right. I mean, I got exercise, I got food, I got rest, I mean, somewhat rest. I only rest when I need to take a nap, and when I'm literally going like this to class. I cannot literally teach 4 more hours of dance. But this is the concept, and this is the perspective that I want to share with you guys. It's a mindset as well. I thought I had the perfect mindset. I thought I had all of these, and I'm healthy. Excuse my memory loss. I don't know what the next slide is for me to talk about. I thought I was healthy. What I didn't realize was the other aspects of health. So when I got cancer, everyone around me who knows me very well, they were all shocked and surprised. because people who know me, they are surprised when I eat my birthday cake. I mean, I love ice cream cake, hint hint. So I eat my own birthday cake and stuff like that. But people don't associate me as being someone who is adventurous that way. They just think I'm really strict to things. So when that happened, it was just about 8 or 9 months after my separation from my second husband, and we were in Dubai. I started going to Spain because I wanted to pursue living in Spain. The week that I arrived in Spain, I was diagnosed with cancer. I was 32. I was 32 in Spain, not knowing exactly what was going on in terms of my symptoms. But I will share that with you in a bit. So what I was diagnosed with was leukemia. Now mind you, when I was in the ER and they were giving me a platelet transfusion because I was so low on platelets that it was considered emergency. I was in critical condition. But I didn't know when you have like red patches around your leg, that was a sign of low platelets. That's when your blood doesn't clot. So if I had accidentally cut myself or injured myself in some way, guess what? I might be bleeding out. So I needed the blood and platelet transfusion when I was in the ER. They took about 8 jabs. I mean, I went in for a cold thinking, I just have a fever for 5 days and I just have a body ache. I just have a really bad case of flu. I didn't think anything else. But on that bed, Spanish doctor comes up, did not tell me in English, told my friend. My friend looked at me and he went, so the doctor said it might be leukemia, but they want to double confirm tomorrow. And in that moment, 2 things. I didn't know what leukemia was. I thought it was just like, is that just a really bad case of immune system crashing? And I just need a big dose of meds. I didn't know. Secondly, after I had snuck onto my phone and Googled what is leukemia, and the first thing I saw was blood cancer, took my phone away, and I started to empathize with my friend because he had to translate to his friend telling the friend. The type of cancer that I have specifically is this. With leukemia, there are different types of leukemia, but it boils down to 4 more common ones. And out of the 4, this has the lowest survival rate, which is about 50%. If you're a stats person, it's 50%. But you know what? I try not to get caught up with stats because stats are only measured with a control group, and largely it's probably towards older people, not so much around my age. But the symptoms that I had, and these were not instant either. These were kind of built up. Because when I look back, you know what? Did you know Instagram archives all your stories? Yeah. So on one day, I was just going through all my Instagram stuff, and I'm like, oh, I have stories from like December and January. I was diagnosed in April 2018, but I found stories from December 2017. And that was when it all came back to me. At that time, I was already traveling through different countries. Many different countries on 3 different continents. But the nosebleed was unusual. I started to have nosebleeds in January. I thought it might be just the weather. I'm not used to the weather because I was in Malaysia at the time, traveling from Hong Kong and traveling from Dubai. Yeah, I didn't think of it at all. Everything else came about 2 weeks right before I was diagnosed. I actually went to the dentist thinking I had a root canal issue or my wisdom tooth was coming in because I started to have jaw ache. But eventually I found out, I learned and I realized that I had aches everywhere. It was neck, back, and jaw was the main thing. So what she did was she gave me antibiotics. She said, your bone is a little exposed. You might have chomped on something too hard. So just don't chew on that side. Here's some meds. Here's some mouthwash. And sent me on my way. Of course, I'm going to listen to a dentist. So I did that. But the fever never went away. The jaw pain went away because I was self-medicating with Advil. And I did not know that ibuprofen actually lowers your white blood cell count. So I was contributing to my own disease. I didn't know. So hopefully that's something that you know as well, and just go with paracetamol, which is the safest one what they use in hospitals. So leading up to this, of course I started my first day at work in Spain, and you gotta love it when your boss is honest with you. After the first day, he said, don't look too well. And I said, oh, what do you mean? I think I'm fine. No, you look like shit. Okay, I will listen to you. But that night was when I found the red spots. And that was when I knew, okay, this is a red, this is an alarm. I need to go to the hospital the next day. And When they confirmed that it was leukemia the day after, my dad flew up from Russia right away. He was living in Russia at the time. And I think for 2 days I was a little dazed because I was medicated already at that point. I don't remember many discussions with me. I think there were discussions with my dad, with my friend, with the doctors, and also my friend translating for everyone. But what I remember clearly was, I should show you a photo of my dad. But what I remember clearly was him asking Dr. Joe, my doctor, if we could wait on chemotherapy. And the reason for that, and I understand where he's coming from, his mom, my grandma, had breast cancer. And he has seen firsthand just how chemotherapy affects someone at that age. My grandma did not survive chemotherapy, and she passed on Christmas Day. So I understand from my dad's side why he felt like, no, I do not want to see my daughter going through that. But what we also did not know is with AML, if you don't treat it immediately, your survival rate goes from days to weeks, not even months. This is how aggressive this particular cancer is. So when my doctor told him, she has no time, she will die. Chemotherapy started 2 days later. So the first week of chemo, it was actually all right. I mean, honestly, I was in bed. They were serving me Spanish food. I did not quite like it. I hate pickled food, but most of it was pickled food. And I do remember this one particular bread, because you know, Spanish love their bread. It was so stale, because it was like the gluten-free bread. It was so stale. I threw it against the door, and I was wondering if it would break. Like, this is entertainment. Bam. That was how I felt. After about a week and a half, that's when everything started to change. Because initially I went in thinking, I got this, you know, I got this. I used to CrossFit, I did martial arts, I got assaulted and I get out of it, that kind of stuff. I got this. No. When the pain set in, I was like, doctor, dolor means pain in Spanish, dolor. And she goes, do you want morphine? Yes, please give me some of that morphine. I would say yes to it because I do not wish to have this pain. This pain was like deep in the gut. It was like it was maybe 10 people who reached into your guts and just started having a party, a twisting party. That was how much it hurt. But at that point, I had stopped eating because I could not eat anymore. So for 8 days, I had no solid food. You know what? I had practice with fasting. That was fine, actually. I was already used to it by then. What I was not used to was having, you can't see this photo, but what I wasn't used to was having a catheter right here and being on drip for 24/7. Like there was at no point was I detached from the drip. So if you can imagine being in a hospital for 24 days, constantly holding onto this pole, a rolly pole, that you have to go throw up, you have to go to the bathroom. Even though you're not eating, you are peeing 10 times a day from all these fluids. And that was annoying. I just thought, why can't you just have another hose and just save me from going to the bathroom? Because every trip to the bathroom was like a marathon. It just felt that way. Just tiring. And the reason why I'm sharing that with you, the side effects of chemo, is that, one, of course, everyone reacts differently. And there are different types of chemo drugs for different types of cancer. The type of cancer that I had required an aggressive and intensive dosage. So for a whole week, I was on chemo drip 24/7 on one particular drug. The first 3 days was a double drug. And that was meant to wipe out whatever you had in your system. They call this phase the induction phase. The induction phase. After the induction phase, you go into consolidation phase, depending if your body has gone into complete remission, which is different from actual disease remission. Complete remission is just temporarily we can't see any nails in your system. That's cool. We can take you on to the next phase. Because why? You need to be eligible for chemo. And some people are rejected with conventional medicine if they're too old, depending on their age, their fragility, how weak are they. Also, the doctor senses that you have an unstable mindset, they might put you through more tests and more counseling sessions before they start chemo with you. So just so you guys know as well, chemo is not like the only answer, and you have to be eligible for that. So I felt like I was in a whole different world. From I got this to, oh my goodness, when will this stop? When will this stop? I was just tired. One of my first visitors are also here today, and she saw me when I was on morphine. That must have been a pretty funny sight. And I think some people got my morphine messages as well. How I took my power back was to shake my head, because when my hair started falling out, it was hard, because I had long hair down here. And that took forever to grow. I did not have a haircut for like 15 years, y'all. That was a long time. That was hard work. But every time I got out of bed, and I look back, and all I see is like this hairy, what's that hairy character from Addams Family?
Cousin It.
Okay, yeah, It. Cousin It, right? Yeah, Cousin It was on my hospital bed. Every time I got out to go to the bathroom, I come back, I'm like, okay, I guess we need to change sheets again. That was how much hair was falling out. And even though I shouldn't have, I couldn't help it. I would go to the bathroom away from people and just do this to my hair. And for some reason, doing that was so detrimental to my own body image, to my own health. And I decided, I'm just gonna shave it. I Googled Natalie Portman. You guys remember her from that movie V for Vendetta? And I looked at her face and I'm like, okay, I can channel strength from this, no problem. I did that. But if you guys have been looking at this graph, there's more side effects than just losing your hair. I wasn't actually fussed about it at that time as much. When I was looking for people to follow on social media or online, I was trying to connect with people who made losing hair their first sign of like depression or the first loss of identity. I did not, for some reason, resonate with that. I don't know why. What I was looking for are people who have been active, people who have practiced health, people who have practiced lifestyle, healthy lifestyle. And then this happens. And sure enough, I found people who had that same lifestyle, but still diagnosed with cancer. I met a fighter online, an MMA fighter. I met a circus performer. And we're all around the same age. And there's another friend that I made who unfortunately did not make it as of 2 weeks ago. His cancer came back after 4 years, 3 times. However, there are a lot of success stories as well for people who have been through conventional medicine. And hopefully I will still be here for the next time. This is just to give you an idea for people with AML. Consolidation chemos, I had about 3 rounds of consolidation chemos. And what does that sound like? It's a different type of drug to consolidate your disease. Every time I go for consolidation, it's about 2 to 3 days of, again, high dose chemotherapy. And I'm required to stay in the hospital. I have the choice of not doing so, but I run at a higher risk for myself. Because when this chemo starts, for me, everything plummets. My immune system crashes. My white blood cell count goes. I'll need platelet transfusion. I need blood transfusion if it goes really badly. And in some cases, I had needed additional medicine to counter some of the side effects. Oh, you feeling bloated? There's a medication for that, and there's a side effect for that. You got headache? There's a med for that, but there's side effects for that. You got this, you got that. Everything was medicated. But no one had actually paid attention or asked me, is there anything else you need? It's just, I say one symptom, and they give me medication for that. I didn't like that. So after I left Spain, I did my first round of induction chemo in Spain. After that, I was cleared to fly. Because also flying crashes your immune system, if you guys didn't know that as well. I didn't know that. I was flying all over the place thinking I'm like Wonder Woman, but you know, now I understand that I have limitations, which sucks. But when I came back to Hong Kong, this is literally what I did. I started to get in touch with doctors and hospitals anywhere in Hong Kong, second opinions, third opinions, fourth opinions. I got in contact with about 15 different doctors and hospitals, not just in Hong Kong, but in Australia, in Germany, in Spain, in other countries, in the States, in Canada. I want to do what I can to know what my options are. I want to take ownership for this. I wanted to play a part in managing my own disease. Did not want to sit back and do that. But having said that, that comes with its toll as well, right? I wanted to grab the reins again. I wanted to attack every aspect of health that I know and also didn't know. I knew nutrition, but do I really know nutrition? So I stopped Miles at the time. And we did a lot of tests, we did a lot of consultations, and it put me in a place where I felt like, okay, so I have backup, I have information. Whether I choose to use this information or not is entirely up to me, but at least I've empowered myself with more information, with my own study, my own quest for livelihood, for training, for exercise. You know my backstory now. Exercise is part of my life. It's a big part of my life. But now I have a different goal. I'm no longer exercising or doing physical activity to compete in the physique competition or to compete in the pole competition or just on everyone's forever quest of six-pack abs. Like, we all know that. And I've been there. I know that. I have horrible body image issues still, I think. But get better. Still. It's progress. Everything's progress. Recovery. I had to tell myself to chill the hell out. So I did that. But what I did not really address prior to this and any of it, I did not take into account, was my mental health. And what do I mean by mental health? I wasn't sure how to deal with emotions. Well, let me backtrack one thing. It wasn't until I actually listened to a podcast episode on Tim Ferriss' podcast with a physician named Gabriel Mate. Has anyone heard of Gabriel Mate? Okay. So, you know what I'm talking about. But Gabriel Mate specializes in childhood trauma and trauma in general, and the possible connection with trauma expressing itself in diseases, including cancer and autoimmune disease. So that was something that caught my interest, because that is one thing I had never thought about. I have experienced traumatic events growing up, but I never consciously registered them as trauma. It might be my way of being in denial, like, that's not traumatic to me. I got this, I'm a strong person. That's nothing, I can deal with it. So that was my mindset. You have to understand that was my mindset. Which kind of made me, I suppose, lacking in emotional intelligence. I would probably have different experiences with both my marriages. And not just that, with just any relationship with my mom, with my dad, my siblings, with my best friends growing up, with the mother figures I had growing up as well, and adopted in adulthood. I decided to see a psychologist. Now prior to that, I never thought that I needed to see a therapist. You know, I spent some time in the States. We have this, I don't know, maybe not anymore, but we had this negative connotation to seeing a therapist, to seeing a shrink. I thought, yeah, there's no harm. I'm interested in psychology anyway, so I'll go see a psychologist. And yet, I am so glad I did, because I think if I had not seen a psychologist and worked out whatever I had in the back of my mind, just unpack, I probably would have a different time when I was in isolation from a bone marrow transplant, because that was leading up to it. First of all, I had to find a donor match. For those of you who have never heard of a bone marrow transplant, it's okay. I never heard that you can donate bone marrow to begin with. I only know you can donate blood. I didn't know you could donate plasma, and you can donate bone marrow. The only issue with bone marrow is it's really rare to find a match. Your siblings have the highest chance of matching, and that's 30%. I have two brothers, and neither one of them are a match. So the search went to Hong Kong. No match in Hong Kong. And the search went international. The importance of searching for a donor at the time, I realized if I had not been so public about sharing, I probably wouldn't be here today. Because searching for a donor match is easier said than done. First of all, you need people who are willing to undergo a procedure to donate bone marrow. So when I speak about relationship, this is when I realized that my relationships with my family was probably very one-sided. I expected family to like jump in right away and got my back. But on the contrary, none of my cousins stepped up. And that really hurt. That really, really hurt. On the flip side, strangers stepped up. People I didn't know, people I wasn't friends with, they stepped up and said, I want to donate to you. I want to help you. How can I be a match? And I had to turn people away in the sense that I wish you could, But being eligible or being a possible match for a bone marrow donor has a lot to do with your ethnicity. My DNA test that my brother took, I mean, I hope that we're from the same mother and father, otherwise it would be totally incorrect. I am 99% Chinese, and 1% was Southeast Asian. I don't even know how that works, but it's good to know. My donor is actually from China. But it was only since then I realized relationships, friendships, even just short-term encounters, they can be quality if you want it to be. It all depends on how much effort you put in, how much you're willing to invest. I had a big reflection phase where I realized I wasn't the person I thought I was, or I wasn't at the level that I thought I was, being a family member to my cousins. I couldn't blame my cousins. I can only blame myself if I need to blame someone. Was I there for my cousins in a way? This is just an example, just to give you. Because relationships and community is highly important to my recovery. If I didn't have friends who I consider family, I don't know where I would be, because I don't have any family in Hong Kong. My family's everywhere but Hong Kong. And where they live, my insurance doesn't cover. So that's another reason why I am not with my family during this time. Fair enough, they flew over to be with me, but every time that my family flies over and they don't work, they don't have money. And because cancer affects everyone in the family, it indirectly affects me. That's the situation. This is just one example of the stats in the UK. But if you look at more stats, Asians, African Americans, Hispanics, Latinos, we have a lower chance of finding our bone marrow. Moving forward in this today world, I just want to put a public service announcement out there. If you can, just talk about bone marrow donating. The more mixed you are in the city, can you imagine? Everyone today are kind of mixed or having mixed kids. And if you're only having one kid, knock on wood, but if you need anything and you don't have a match, that's really hard to save a life. So the more people know about this and the more action you want to take, do it. I don't know how much time I am over, by the way. I have not done this in a while, so I apologize ahead of time if I'm going to be screwing through. But just 10 minutes. Okay, so 10 minutes over. But I wanted you to see this kid. Oh, where did it go? Come on, kid. This kid. So this kid in China, 8 years old, what he did was he gained 25 pounds so he could be eligible to donate bone marrow to his dad. I think it's important that we honor that. This was the hazmat suit that my chemo administrator was giving me during the bone marrow transplant in isolation. I had the transplant in December, and I was in isolation for about 40-something days. And I think that would tie into why I think, had I not seen a psychologist prior to that, I wouldn't have really survived. And I'm showing you this photo because I couldn't look at myself in the mirror when I was going through the transplant in terms of side effects. These are one of the side effects after the transplant. I also went to anaphylactic shock when they did not give me steroids and antihistamines for a platelet transfusion. So that was scary. People think after transplant, things would be easy peasy, but it's more complicated than that, sure. And in isolation, I wasn't allowed any visitors other than my wonderful brother. My brother flew from the States to live with me for 2 months, just so he could come twice a week. He could come every day, but I had no energy to even have a conversation with my brother. He could come every day. But that was when I realized, wow, I have a great family, and I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky because I almost wanted to do this when I was in the bone marrow transplant isolation unit. And I don't know what give up means to you, but give up to me means I stop trying, means I stop accepting. I don't know if it ties back into how did I fight this second time of being suicidal. How do I do that? And I have people who ask me, how do you do it? You know what, I don't know. Could it be because I had practice? Unfortunately, practice dealing with different events. I was raped when I was 15, and I was raped again when I was 18. I didn't know what to do at the time, and I didn't tell a single soul. In fact, I didn't tell anybody until I got my first magazine interview here in Hong Kong about cancer and resilience, and I decided, you know what? Censor it. Okay. I'm gonna treat my health in all aspects, including mental health. Could it also be that I was assaulted when I was 24 by 5 guys, 2 o'clock in the morning, blocking my car, pushing me around, calling me racist names, and that was in Malaysia. I had already gone through all of that in the States. I had my fair share of being treated a certain way just for being different. I lived in the state of Tennessee. If any of you guys are Americans or know Tennessee, you know what I mean. I'm dealing with shrimp fried rice every weekend being hollered at. What's up, shrimp fried rice? That kind of stuff. But also, when I was in Dubai, which was surprising when I was in Dubai, I had missed out on pay, jobs, just because my passport says Malaysia. As opposed to other passports, for the same position, I'm more qualified, but I didn't get the same benefits. So I was dealing with all this already, and I had 2 divorces. But all of that didn't seem like traumatic events to me. I didn't experience, I didn't feel, I didn't register trauma at the time. And I guess I also didn't understand what exactly was trauma and what exactly was anger, what exactly was grief. Is it because all 3 of my mother figures growing up until adulthood had all died from cancer? I had never actually grieved for them. In a session with my psychologist where we uncovered that I had harbored so much anger, so much frustration, so much grief, so much shame, so much guilt from all that I've been through when I was 15. Because I also got pregnant from that 1st grade. And if you grew up religious, you would understand that I was in a Christian school. A few weeks just before that happened, I was watching, they made us watch a documentary about abortion. I had witnessed on film how they do it. And next thing you know, I'm in that same bloody chair doing that and upsetting people I was worshiping, my parents, and I also disappointed God. So all of that guilt pushed me to thinking that I am not worthy to live. I am not worthy to be on this earth. I have disappointed so many people. And that not same exact feeling, but that also crept in when I had my bone marrow transplant, and that was in isolation. On the days where it was really hard, I could barely open my eyes because I was so nauseous and I was throwing up. I thought, you know what? What's the point? What am I doing this for? What is the point? I snapped out of it, obviously, because I told myself, Andrew, my brother, Andrew's coming tomorrow. I better be freaking alive. That will not be good for him. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is also, is it because part of my struggle before is dealing with family members who also tried to commit suicide? Also. 2 of them very close to my heart. 2 of them I had to pry the knives out of their hands to stop them from doing that. So I don't know if all of that had contributed to building some sort of resilience, building some sort of hardship. I actually asked my psychologist, I want to understand, I want to get to the bottom of this. I want to know, did I deal with it properly, or did I just get really good at suppressing shit? Turns out I just got really good at suppressing shit. So that's my current journey in terms of where I want to work on. The biggest thing now is how I'm going to move forward. And moving forward doesn't mean that I have to give up. During my first chemo, I remember laying in bed thinking, I cannot fight this. I need the medicine to help me fight. That feeling of being at peace was the first time I felt what it was to surrender and be in peace. Is to give way. I'm not giving up. I'm giving way. Part of the reason why I'm here today and telling you all those not very pleasant stories is so that we can all learn to trust our struggles. No matter what, you might be having a hard time right now and you don't know who around you is having a hard time. But it's okay. With mindset and understanding, just on the broader spectrum, trust yourself, trust your struggles. That was what I had to learn. I didn't trust myself. And now, this is my mantra. Whatever you're going through, you own it. You have a bad hair day, you own that bad hair day. Okay? It's to that scale. It's owning it. Now, even though my survival rate right now sits pretty low, And if I don't have a relapse for 2 years after my bone marrow transplant, my survival rate for 5 years will go up to 80%. I'm gunning for that. Going into my 9th month, and my priorities have shifted. My priorities now, in terms of working out, is no longer, oh, I wonder how many pull-ups I can do. Can I get back my six-pack? Well, I never had it, to be honest. But can I get six-pack abs? My priorities today is relationships, connections. Whatever it is, whatever time I have remaining, I may not be there again to speak to you guys, and that's something I need to face. But what's harder is that's something that I need to demand the people around me to face. So, live every day like you bloody well mean it. And tell the people that you love them. Thank you for choosing to be here today.